If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about Wait.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live. As always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Do me a favor, if you're watching this on Facebook, you click the thumbs up button, share the button out, and follow us on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up and subscribe to this video, and on Twitter, retweet it out. But if you're watching on Twitter, I always recommend heading on over to the Facebook or YouTube page, following and subscribing there, because that is the best place to get involved, like all our great followers and listeners every single morning. We greatly appreciate you all tuning in. We got a jam-packed show today. Lots to talk about. I am Phil Stiefel, your host at Bearded Knowledge on Twitter. Joining me today is the full crew: Jasson Vorhees at Moscatelli3651 and Marc Moscatelli at Marc with a C and a bunch of underscores. Good morning, gentlemen, and how are we doing today?
I'm in a bad mood.
I hear that, man. You know,
I'm in a bad. So I coach Little League, right? And we had our All-Star opening round last night, and we got waxed 15-0. A lot of crying kids, a lot of people upset. I almost got thrown out of the game, which is
I got a
coming to me. But what's that?
Is the township community page starting to hashtag fire Marc Moscatelli?
Well, I was really embarrassed that I didn't put my kids in a position to win.
Whenever a team does bad, it's the first thing you do is you jump on social media and hashtag fire the coach. You know?
Well, it's truth. And as we were getting the pants knocked off, as my wife was near the dugout, I said, I'm going to get fired. She goes, how do you get fired from a volunteer position? And then like we paid for 2 umpires for All-Stars. Usually we only have 1 umpire.
Right.
So, and the umpires, as much as I support them, boy, they miss a lot of calls. And I figured, hey, we have 2 umpires, 1 at second, 1 at home. All the calls will be at least caught. No, it was just as bad. And I call timeout to take my pitcher out, and I start walking on the field, and the umpire starts yelling at me, I didn't give you time. I said, well, the play's over. And they said, well, I didn't give you time. I said, there's 2 of you guys. I'm yelling timeout twice. Somebody needs to respond to me. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to go on the other side of the line or not? And I come to find out I almost got thrown out, and our league administrator taught them out of doing that. So whatever. It's very, very frustrating when calls don't go your way. And last night was really frustrating. And we're playing the best team in the league tonight, so God only knows what's going to happen. We'll see. We'll end up probably winning 15-0. Who knows?
Who would have?
You're on the hot seat, man.
I am. My ass is warm right now. What's that, Jack?
I was going to say, who would have known Marc is the hero that we all needed?
Dude, did you guys ever coach like Little League or anything like that?
No, but you're inspiring me. Like, now I want to coach just because I think that would be cool to get thrown out of a game.
Listen, it's a lot of fun. It really is to see kids develop and learn. They learn about baseball with me, and I've told the league, like, you're only going to learn so much from me. But they learn other stuff, social skills, communication, teamwork, all those things that they're going to look back and say, when I was on my Little League team, we did this, or I learned to do that. And that stuff resonates. And that's kind of why I do. That's what I'm really good at. The baseball stuff, I rely on the other coaches to help with the fundamental stuff. It's a lot of fun. Honestly, I'm probably only going to coach as long as my son wants to play. So, and he's halfway decent. So we'll see.
So you're bashing the umps. It made me think of something. I don't know if you guys saw what I shared on Twitter yesterday. This is an umpire cam. I don't know anything about this game. This is like an insane video right here. Just watch this. This guy is throwing 97 miles. I'm guessing it's college ball or something like that.
Looks like Stanford.
I think it's Samford. Or maybe
it's Stanford or Stanford?
Okay. It is Stanford, yeah. Look at this. Look at the heat. 97 mile an hour fastball, 94 mile an hour cutter, followed by another 93 mile an hour cutter. Is that not an insane image right there? It just goes to show you how dangerous that job is and how hard it is to be a catcher at that level. I mean, I see with the little league kids, and I've been at bat. We do a little league versus coaches game, and usually the top tier kids will be the pitchers. I mean, the one kid that was pitching on my all-star team last year, God, he had to throw close to 70. And standing in there, and you're only at like 45 feet, not 60 feet 6 inches. And if they're throwing like 70, it's like 90 coming in. It's scary, dude. It's scary. There's a reason that video proves why I failed at baseball. I couldn't hit it. I mean, that's intense. So, I mean, yeah, the umpires, they do it every day. They got to be better at it than they are. But, man, it's hard for the hitter. It's hard for the catcher. It's hard for the umpire. I watched that video literally like 30 times yesterday after I saw it and shared it out. I was just like, damn. Hitting a baseball is probably the hardest thing to do in all of sports, across the world. It's got to be the hardest thing to do.
If you hit 3 out of 10, you lead the league in hitting. And that's a rather low percentage. If you were 3 out of 10 shooting foul shots or shooting a jumper, you'd be ran out of the league. If your completion percentage was 3 of 10, like you wouldn't even be a third stringer. You'd be on the practice squad.
All right. So Marc and Jason, I'm going to ask you after I showed that video, if you had 10 at bats or 10 swings at a 97 mile an hour fastball, I'm not saying base hit. I'm saying how many times could you make contact, Jason?
At a what?
At a 97 mile an hour fastball coming straight down at you, 10 swings, just make contact. How many times are you making contact?
0.
Yeah, me too. Marc?
0. There's no way I'm hitting the ball. There is no way.
What speed would you have to take to where you might actually feel confident you might be able to get? Like, I don't think I could hit a 75 mile an hour fastball at this point in my life. I probably would swing and miss at all 10 of them too.
Well, I had it up. I had the pitching machine the other day up to about 55 at 45. My phone's going off again. And I was slugging the ball all over the field to have the kids field, and it was hitting it pretty hard too. So I'm going to say about 50 miles an hour. Maybe I can make some contact.
Jason, do you think you can hit a 70 mile an hour fastball at this point?
70, be difficult. I mean, honestly, the last time I even picked up a bat, I can't remember. So, and it's sad because I love baseball, but I think I played softball maybe like.
Yeah, I was going to transition to that. I played in a men's softball league. I stopped about 6 or 7 years ago playing in it. But I don't know if you guys have ever played high arc softball.
Mm-hmm.
But, I hit around 300 my last season. And 300 in high-pitched men's softball is equivalent to hitting about like 175 in baseball. Mm-hmm. It's not good. 300 is the bottom. I was the worst. So when I was barely cracking 300 batting average, I'm not in that. I can't hit a baseball. It's just, yeah.
I played softball last year. I was okay, but like I wasn't a great fielder. And it's fun. It's fun to crack the bat and hit the ball and let it drive. But
and get back to part of a team again. And stuff.
Yeah.
Part's all fun.
I always wanted to do that the Phillies Fantasy Fest, where you go to fantasy baseball camp.
It's my dream vacation, my dream thing to do, 100%. But do you know how expensive Phillies Fantasy Camp is?
It's probably minimum $5,000.
The last I looked, which was a couple years ago, it was like $5,500. That gets you your hotel room for you and one person, your access to the camp, and the dinner at the end of the camp, like the big banquet. The rest of it, like they feed you the days at the camp. There's like lunches at the stadium for you in the locker room, and the hotel has like a complimentary breakfast and all. But that's it. You still got to pay for your airfare, any of your other dinners, anything your significant other you bring with you, everything else you have to pay for. So just a bare minimum cost, it's like $5,500, man. And that was a few years ago. That's insane.
All in, you're probably closer to 10.
Yeah, it's about a 10K experience. I know a few people that have done it, and they say it was worth every single penny saving for their life to do that, though. So one day, maybe if my limbs aren't falling off at that point.
Time's running out for us old guys.
Yeah, us old guys, man. Dude, there's some guys down there. If you've watched some highlight videos from fantasy camp, there's like 75, 80-year-old guys down there doing it. And they're out there swinging the bat, making contact, running. And I'm like, dude, I couldn't run that fast. And I'm 41 years old. Come on. I would probably have to join a gym and work out every single day for like 6 months just to get myself in, remote shape. And I'd hit a batting cage like every single day for like the 6 months leading up to it. So, all right. That little intro to the show there went a little longer than I thought it was going to go. So we're going to dive right into it. So today we got two things. We're going to talk Phillies. We'll preview their 6-game road trip here at the second half of the show. But this past weekend, I'm going to be doing a lot of shorter videos, and the audio was just straight trash. So some people watched it, maybe not as many as would have if the audio didn't suck. But Jason really wanted me to bring it up on this show, so we're going to bring it up. I did my NFL quarterback power rankings entering 2022. And I want you guys to give me your thoughts on my list and where I'm right, where I'm wrong. And kind of dissect it. Give me your thoughts on, why and how. So just to preface this is not fantasy football rankings. This is, I'm picking these guys to lead my franchise for just the 2022 season. That is how I built my list. I'm just going one season. This is not for the next 5 years or 10 years. This is not fantasy football stats. It's leading my franchise for one season, this season. And this is how I built my list, guys. So I want to see what you guys think. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. Should we go with this angle? We'll go this angle here. All right. So here is my list. We're going to start it off. I did top 15 because I'm like, where am I going to put Jalen Hurts on my list? So I was going to start with, if I put him at 12, I was going to start with top 12. If he was 16th, I was going to do top 16. I ranked him as my 15th best quarterback in the league. And so that's where I started with on this list, 15 quarterbacks and all. Do you guys agree that Jalen Hurts is the 15th best quarterback or better in this league for this 1 year?
See, this is where I'm confused. So when I first saw your list, I didn't realize that was your preface. Like I was looking at it more from a fantasy.
We're going to do fantasy later this offseason, so.
But I still think Jalen Hurts. Honestly, I think he belongs a little higher on the list.
Okay. We'll see where the rest of the list goes. Then once I
didn't know if you were going to give your whole list and then let us talk.
I'm going to jump ahead to a few of them. I'm not going to go slide screen by slide screen. And then the last slide has all 15 guys on it. But Mark, do you think Jalen Hurts belongs in the top 15 conversation?
I looked up a couple lists aside from Chris Sims, who's an absolute moron.
That's what made me do this list, by the way.
I think Hurts is about where he should be. I've seen him anywhere from like 17 to 12. 15 is probably, I wouldn't fight for him to be lower on the list, and I won't fight for him to be higher. And if he was, it wouldn't be the end of the world either way. So I think he got him pretty good. I mean, there's some nice quarterbacks that are out there that are better than Jalen right now. Now, Jalen has a chance to overstep all those guys and move up the list as he should this year. By the end of the year this year, I expect him to be somewhere in the top 10 based on how the offense has built on them. And there's a couple guys in that top 10 that I think are going to fall dramatically. And I'm sure you'll have the name come up.
You know what's interesting is we'll probably, whenever the Eagles bye week is, maybe at that point we could I'll redo this list for the show, and we could do a side-by-side comparison where they were entering the season and what's the bye, week 7 or 8 this year, and where Jalen Hurts, through 6 or 7 weeks can, add himself. So
just to give you perspective, though,
yes,
on the difference between overall power rankings the way that you did them and how the fantasy community views
Absolutely.
Jalen Hurts, I looked at like 7 different apps like CBS, Yahoo, ESPN. There's a couple other ones. The average where Jalen Hurts comes out in a fantasy football perspective is 5th best quarterback.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
That throws the
Fantasy
rushing
football is built on stats. So I'm just saying that, like, the fact of the matter is that he's so high on the fantasy board tells me that he's going to have a good year number wise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to jump a few slide screens ahead and see what this puts me at on my list here. All right,
I think that's tied into the fact that he can run and score touchdowns too.
100%. The rushing aspect of it for the fantasy. Okay, so here's my 11 through 15. All right, so I put Deshaun Watson at 14, and when I did this video, I was really torn on Deshaun Watson because he could be in the top 4. He could be off the list. He might not play this year. I didn't know what to do. I put Deshaun Watson on the list just so I could talk about Deshaun Watson and how I don't think he should be in the league. Ryan Tannehill at 13 because I think he's extremely underrated as a quarterback. Lamar Jackson at 12. Some people got at me and said I've got him way underrated. Or way over. Like I'm not a huge Lamar Jackson fan.
I think Lamar Jackson is not much different than Jalen Hurts, to be honest with you.
He's actually majorly different, Mark, because Jalen Hurts has basically one full season as starter. How many years has Lamar Jackson now played? What's he on? 3rd or 4th season he's entering now? So we know he's developed some now. He's through his rookie deal already. That's where I'm getting at with Lamar Jackson.
I would say, though, from a playoff perspective, he's terrible. He has not shown up in the playoffs. And if I'm a Ravens fan, my patience is wearing thin with Lamar as a quarterback. I'm sorry. I mean, you can say what you want. He can run all over the field. He can throw all touchdowns. But when push comes to shove, when you're asked to lead a team in the playoffs, a team that has had a lot of success in the playoffs, has a couple Super Bowls under their belt, he's and from quarterbacks that were not as good as him, I think their fans are expecting more than what he's putting out, and that was my big detractor with him was that he can't perform in the playoffs. He's rather ordinary in the playoffs.
Can I interrupt?
Yep.
Sorry. So I think, and this has a lot to do with why when I saw your list, I was a little bit.
Yeah.
My opinion's different.
Yeah.
Because I look at overall team fit. I look at weapons around said quarterback. I look at all those different factors. And if you look at Lamar Jackson, put Lamar Jackson on the Chiefs, and I think we're having a different conversation.
We may.
I firmly believe we are having a different conversation.
I just don't think everybody criticizes
Jalen
Hurts.
No wide receivers, just like Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely.
Lamar Jackson has basically is like this era's Randall Cunningham, a quarterback that's a superstar athlete that has no weapons around him. So you can't really say that.
But hold on. What I'm going to say is I see Lamar Jackson not on the Randall Cunningham side. He's definitely a superstar athlete. I see him more. If people want to criticize Jalen Hurts' throwing motion, why don't people criticize Lamar Jackson? Doesn't throw a great pass. Lamar Jackson doesn't go through 3 progressions in his reads. He basically looks for Mark Andrews and then takes off and runs. And yes, I would put him in that Donovan McNabb lack of weapon kind of category, the Randall Cunningham lack of weapon category, sure. But he still has Mark Andrews.
Did he not have an MVP season? Did he not throw 36 touchdowns? Like, Phil, I get what you're saying, but I think people are revisionist when it comes to Lamar Jackson. Like, Lamar Jackson had a arguably top 10 quarterback season of all time just a few short years ago, and he didn't have Mark Andrews then. He didn't have Mark Andrews.
All right. Well, then when I get a few more names on this list, I want to see who you're bumping down this list because to me, if I'm picking somebody to lead my team this year, I'm not taking many of these guys off. You're making good points on Lamar Jackson, and maybe I'm going the Mark route and looking at his failures in the playoffs way too far. But I'm not bumping. I'm going to bump a few more names up onto this list here real quick.
Real quick, I just pulled up his playoff stats. He's 1-3 in the playoffs at 55.9% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Not good, man. His rating is a 68.3. Just not good. I mean, I'm trying to pull up his rushing stats. His rushing stats are monstrous. 54 for 367 and a touchdown, almost a 7-yard average. But that's not what you pay a quarterback to do. You got to get the ball down the field. He's got to make plays with his legs. Don't get me wrong, but he's got to pass the ball and throw some TDs, man.
All right, so from Lamar Jackson at 12, I got Derek Carr at 11, Russell Wilson at 10, Kyler Murray at 9, which a lot of people have Kyler Murray a lot higher on their list than me. I find Kyler Murray extremely overrated, and the fact that not overrated, maybe that's a strong word. The fact that he's asking for a $400 million contract and hasn't really done anything, that's a sense of overrated. Dak Prescott at 8, and Justin Herbert at 7. And some people will say I got Justin Herbert too low on this list, that he should be higher up on the list. So just at this point, though, Jason, how many of these guys that I have from 7 through 11 are you putting Lamar Jackson ahead of, first off?
I have Lamar Jackson ahead of Dak Prescott. I have Lamar Jackson ahead of Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Probably have him ahead of Russell Wilson. Definitely have him ahead of Derek Carr.
Wow. Okay. See, I should have put Derek Carr at 11.
I do, because I'm still set. Lamar Jackson is still extremely young. And once again, I'm going with the theory that if you gave Lamar Jackson some more weapons, I think you're going to see it this year with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to jump immensely from A.J. Brown. I think the same could be said with Lamar Jackson. And people
Lamar Jackson, they got rid of Marquise Brown, his best wide receiver.
But this is what I'm getting at, Phil. People want to bash Lamar Jackson's throwing. It's the same conversation that people have with Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson has a cannon. I've seen Lamar Jackson do the same things that I watched Randall Cunningham do. I'm telling you that I think he's a special athlete. And I agree, Mark, he hasn't done well in the playoffs. But once again, I look at things from an overall perspective, and the guy has not been surrounded with talent. I'm almost betting, like I said, you put him on that Chiefs offense with Tyreek Hill, all these guys, put him on a team like the Patriots, teams that are, not the Patriots. That was a bad example. Teams with weapons.
I'm trying to think of what are you talking about with the Patriots?
Teams with weapons. I guarantee you Lamar Jackson would be further ahead in conversations and the way that he's viewed. So I understand why you're down.
I mean, you got a fair argument. Like I said, based off of your argument, I feel bad for him because Marquise Brown wasn't a great wide receiver, but he was the best they had, and they got rid of him and didn't replace him. So, Mark, where are you with 7 through 12? We'll leave Lamar Jackson on the table. 7, Justin Herbert through 12. Where am I right? Where am I wrong here?
Kyler's way too high. I don't get the love for this guy. I don't. I think a lot of it has to do with how small he is and his production. But again, another guy who failed miserably in the playoffs. I don't see the love for the guy. I think he's too high on your list.
I didn't want to be Chris Sims controversial. I tried to be very fair with this, but I almost put Derek Carr at 9 and Kyler Murray at 11. I was this close to doing that, just so you know.
I think Russell Wilson too is too high. I mean, listen, I'm not a Lamar Jackson fan, but I think he's better than Murray, Wilson, and Derek Carr at this point in his career versus theirs. I think Derek Carr is a guy that I think he sneaks up on you. I think people don't realize how good he is. I mean, he's not top 10 good, but he's certainly a guy that can come in and win a couple games for you.
He's another one that hasn't had
on the contrary, I think you're going to see that exact thing this year because you gave him Devontae Adams. Once again, I think a lot of times we look at it and we say, well, a quarterback can only be great if they make the wide receiver better. But I think there's a little bit of both in each argument. I mean, you saw Joe Montana make Jerry Rice better, but you also saw Jerry Rice make Joe Montana better. I think a lot of times when you look at quarterbacks, it's easy to sit there and pick apart people. But, I'll give you an example. Joe Burrow gets a ton of love, and rightfully so. The guy's a young stud quarterback. But he also has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, probably the best wide receiver duo in football as a rookie. What do you expect? Obviously, the guy has talent, but when you give the guy two stud wide receivers right away off the bat, of course he's going to have an extremely great, early numbers. Same thing with Pat Mahomes. You had Tyreek Hill. You had, Travis Kelce. The way he's tracking might be the best tight end of all time. We have to look at those things. You can't just say, oh, a quarterback is great, and then bash a guy like I said, Lamar Jackson. I hate to keep going back to it, but I'll even do it with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts got a lot of flack, and from us.
I mean, Jay, what you're saying about this Chiefs offense, you keep coming back to them. I mean, honestly, if you put Gardner Minshew there, he's probably going to be an All-Pro this season. That's what you're saying.
I think an excellent comparison. I jumped up to the top 4 on my list. Matthew Stafford was always in that mid-range thing with Detroit. Is he good? He's good, but is he really that good? He didn't have the weapons, did he? Now I don't know. Then he goes to the Rams. You give him Cooper Kupp. You give him Odell Beckham halfway through the season. He had Robert Woods. And guess what happened? He won a freaking Super Bowl. So the talent around the quarterback definitely plays a factor. And that's why I got Matthew Stafford at 4 over Josh Allen. Because, Matthew Stafford's won the Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't. But, that kind of whole Lamar Jackson theory, I think, plays right into Matthew Stafford. You put him in the right situation with the right talent, and it takes a talented quarterback and just makes him that much better.
See, you have Josh Allen way too low. I have him as my top quarterback.
Yeah, I know a lot of people got him as number 1.
I have him as my top quarterback too, Mark.
Yeah, that man, what he did in that Chiefs playoff game was something that I've never seen before with a quarterback. That I'm talking about, it's giving me goosebumps. That man is number 1 in my book. He is going to have a season of all seasons this year, and Buffalo may be my pick for the AFC representation in the Super Bowl.
They burned me big time because they were my pick last year. He was one of my preseason MVP picks, and yeah, he just didn't. He came up short in the playoffs. He did great, but he came up just a little short. I just can't put a guy that I almost put Tom Brady ahead of him too. Tom Brady at 6, I put. Because Tom Brady, I
don't think Tom Brady should be in the top 10, and I'm going to tell you why. The man is going to play at 44 this year. Eventually, dude, he's going to fall off the cliff. And I know that there's some changes in Tampa Bay. I think he's primed for a big fall, and this will definitely be his last season. I can't see him playing beyond this.
Mark, on that, I always say don't bet against somebody like him, or I used to say with LeBron James, don't bet against LeBron until somebody beats LeBron. I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady till Tom Brady proves that he's too old, but I could totally see and buy what you're. That's why he's at 6 and not in the top 5 for me. But on Josh Allen and go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Well, no, and not to keep tying it in, but I think that's all the more reason the argument that I've been talking about as far as the weapons around a quarterback, why Tom Brady is the GOAT. Because if you look at what he did with very little, I mean, obviously he had Randy Moss the one year and he's had weapons, but not the weaponry that you would consider, to make somebody an elite quarterback. He's a guy that kind of debunks that theory, so to speak, because he is the GOAT and he's done it with nobody. So
So I got an
I'm arguing against my own argument here, but
I want to counter your argument because you guys have talked about Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, and these guys, and we're talking about their weapons and not. And then I put Justin Herbert at 7, and no one even brought that up. And a lot of people have Justin Herbert in their top 3.
He should be. Herbert's a little low. He should be probably in the top 5.
Well, Justin Herbert had the weapons last year. He had Keenan Allen. He had Williams, and he still failed.
Young.
He is young, and that's why he didn't get.
A lot of these guys are young.
Absolutely, it's kind of crazy if you think about it. Tom Brady's going to retire soon. Aaron Rodgers is going to retire soon. Russell Wilson. He's probably got 3 or 4 more good years in him. But the youth in the quarterback position in the NFL, you think about Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, who's still to come on my list. Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. The youth, even Deshaun Watson, if you take his personal thing, eventually he'll come back and play. The youth at the NFL quarterback position, the superstar talent youth at the quarterback position right now, the NFL is set. I mean, we're going to see Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert for another decade. I mean, it's not going to be just Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning every year. There's going to be some crazy, amazing battles for the next 10 or 12 years at this quarterback position. Can we all agree on that?
And Russell Wilson still has a lot of football left to play as well. He's only 33, dude.
That's true.
In football terms, he's got at least 7 to 10 years, and if he can
football quarterback terms.
Yeah.
All right, let's bump up this list a little bit more here. I'm going to go one at a time. So 4, I had Matthew Stafford. At 3, I got Joe Burrow. Ahead of Justin Herbert, ahead of some other guys. The fact that in his second year coming off an ACL injury, he was able to lead the Bengals, who had a terrible offensive line, an okay defense, to the Super Bowl in his second year in the league. Just goes to show, I mean, the Joe Cool swag. You guys know me and Jalen Hurts, that I'm a Jalen Hurts guy solely because of the swagger and leadership and intangibles. Joe Burrow's intangibles were on full display last year. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on Joe Burrow and the Bengals this year. A lot of people don't even have him win the division, because of the Bengals and whatnot in that division. And some people even have the Browns because of Deshaun Watson. That's insane because he's not going to play. I am extremely high on Joe Burrow, guys. I thought about putting him 1 or 2 on my list, honestly. Where are you guys with Joe Burrow? If you're picking him, he deserves top 3 consideration at least.
Yeah, I would have him in my top 3.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Oh, sorry, Jay. I would have him in my top 3 because of what you said, the intangibles. Quarterbacking is much more than just throwing the ball to your open receiver. If that was the case, I mean, honestly, a guy like Carson Wentz would crack the top 10.
Right.
And Carson is not a leader. It's all about leadership, and all these guys here have some degree of leadership, some better than others. Joe is close to the top when it comes to being a leader because of his college career on when he was at LSU, and what he's done with a sad sacks franchise like the Bengals that he took him to the Super Bowl, which is unbelievable, man, unbelievable. I think he's right where he needs to be. I think he's going to have a great season this year. I think the Bengals are probably going to win more than 10 games. Would they win 10 this year or 11?
10 or 11.
Yeah, something like that. I think they're going to be like a 12, 13 win team this year. And it's all going to be it's going to be the Joe Burrow show. And Jay, like you say, he's got weapons to throw to. Why don't you add on that? I'm sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to do that, dude.
You didn't cut me off. You're good, man. We're a team. We are a team. We're the ones.
Not anymore.
Coming at Phil. No.
At least I got one of them right to you guys.
I will say. I actually. This is the first one I actually agree with Phil on. I have Joe Burrow 3rd myself. Right. So my top 3. If you asked me mine, my top 3 would be Josh Allen 1, Pat Mahomes 2, Joe Burrow 3, Justin Herbert 4. And then I would go further. But that's my top. I think Joe Burrow and the only reason that I have Josh Allen ahead of Pat Mahomes at this point is I look what the Chiefs did, and they got rid of Tyreek Hill. Not that Tyreek Hill is, the be all end all, but you take a huge weapon out of that offense. I think Josh Allen is at that kind of. Josh Allen is still trending up, where I think Pat Mahomes is kind of like set in stone where he's at. So I think Pat Mahomes has hit his ceiling, so to speak. He hit it so early to the point where he had a year of all years when he had 55 touchdowns. Like he had a Dan Marino-esque type year. Let's face it. I mean,
he's only 26 years old, Patrick Mahomes, just an FYI. Most
got that.
Hit their peak till 28, 30 years old.
I got that, but I think Josh Allen is still a guy that hasn't hit his ceiling. Like, I think what you saw, Josh Allen's evolved. Like, Josh Allen, when he first came in the league, everyone thought he was a flop. You know, he had those first 2 years. You look at what he's doing overall, his overall body of work, he's kind of like doing it more slow, obviously. He didn't come out of nowhere like Pat Mahomes. I'm not saying Pat Mahomes is done. I just said Pat Mahomes is my second-ranked guy.
You said he peaked. You said he's reached his peak already.
Yeah, and he's the second-ranked guy. Like, that's for a long time. He's going to be that way.
Patrick Mahomes will always be my number one, 110%. Till someone proves that they're better, that they can consistently lead their team to the end of he's been in the championship game every single year now, basically, since he's been a starter. He's played in how many Super Bowls? Until someone can knock him off his perch.
I want to see
I know they lost Tyreek Hill.
Let's see what he does this year.
That's what I'm saying. We're going to really see what he is. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is like where Patrick Mahomes will be in 10 more years. You know, we're going to see what Aaron Rodgers has got without Devontae Adams. But we've seen Aaron Rodgers because Devontae Adams, let's face it, doesn't play a full 16, 17-game season.
He didn't just lose Devontae Adams, though. He lost MVS Martez, his second.
We're going to find out. But if I'm putting my franchise around this year, there's that's where I'm going. Mark.
I'm curious to see what Pat does this year without Tyreek Hill. And I'm curious to see what happens because he's only 26 going on 27. He'll play at 27 this year. Andy Reid's not going to coach that team forever.
That's true.
And listen, man, like as much as there's an Andy Reid love fest around this league, I am not one of his supporters. The man has lost more championship games as home favorites than any other coach out there. You know, they've won their Super Bowl. He's probably can coach there until he decides to retire. I mean, there's a good chance that Mahomes is going to be playing for a different coach within the next 3 years. I believe that. I'm curious to see how he will perform with a new coach and how he will perform with less weapons. And the weapons that he does have are a little bit older. I mean, Travis Kelce, I mean, is he 10 years in the league yet? I mean, he's got to be close to it. He's definitely over 30. You know, I mean, he's still great. Don't get me wrong, but like football, man, is I said this yesterday. It is a violent sport, and people get injured and people slow down. Quarterbacks tend to, especially with the rules today, where they're protected and they don't get hit, can hang around for a bit. He probably has a good 10 years left in his career, but I'm curious to see how he would do without Andy Reid and without a number one wide receiver like Tyreek Hill. The first test is coming up this season. We'll see how that goes. As for Rodgers, like the guy does find ways to win, but he's very old. I mean, he's like 37, 38. You took a lot of his weapons away. I don't know if I would rank him 2. I probably would rank him in the top 3, probably rank him 3, maybe Burrow 2.
So hold on. So again, Jason, you were Allen 1, Mahomes 2.
Allen, Mahomes, Burrow. Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Rodgers, Herbert.
Okay, and Mark,
and I would do Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, Rodgers, and probably looking at this list, maybe either Justin Herbert or Dak Prescott. It all depends. They're kind of one and the same, if you ask me.
That's interesting that you say Dak Prescott, because I actually think Dak Prescott could be higher on this list as well. I was actually doing my list, and I was like, I forgot to put Dak Prescott on it somewhere. And I had to go back and readjust my list to get Dak Prescott on the list. All right. So I think I want to ask you guys a specific question on this list. All right. Or, I mean, and think of it in your own, in your mind, in your own list. If we do this, say week 7, 8, we come back to this. What quarterbacks, 1 or 2 quarterbacks, do you think we're going to say, I was so wrong, and are going to take massive jumps up this list? One for me, Jalen Hurts is going to take, hopefully, a massive jump up this list, hopefully in that 8 to 9 range by mid-season. I also think Justin Herbert, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on Justin Herbert. I could see Justin Herbert jumping up into that top 3. And like I said, I could be wrong on Mahomes and Rodgers. They could be falling down and stuff like that. Herbert and Hurts are the 2 guys that I think come week 7, 8, whenever we revisit this, I'll be saying are much higher on this list than they are right now. Not on my list, on your list. If you had to do one, which quarterbacks do you think take the biggest jump this year? Jason, we can start with you on that.
Well, they still didn't get him weapons, but I'm going to say Lamar. I think Lamar is he has a lot to prove. I think he's hearing a lot of flack in his own, even within his own fan base. And I have Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr getting Devontae Adams, who, by the way, is his best friend from like before even college. Like they're like amazing friends. I think that's going to be one of those like Jalen Hurts type, AJ Brown type.
What is it with wide receivers and quarter? Like it's like basketball players have always been like best friends. Let's team up and create the super teams. It seems like the NFL now, players want to team up with their buddies now. It seems like they're following that NBA trend there.
But I'm a homer. I'm going to say Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts. I mean, I've been a Hurts guy from day one, and I think you're going to see. Obviously, it's a do or die this year. It's no excuse, but I think you will see it. And you've already heard a little bit of, I know they're not having all the mini camps, and people are, screaming about that and saying we should be proud. Which by the way, I think we should be. I think we're taking a little bit of a lackadaisical approach, but that's just my opinion. I think Jalen Hurts is primed to have a breakout year.
All right, Mark, where are you with guys that are going to take the biggest jump forward or back this year?
I think my homerism is going to come out and say Jalen Hurts as well. I think he's going to crack the top 10 or just at the 10. I really think he's going to take that step forward that we need. And gosh, my guy that's going to fall, I'm going to say not because I'm jealous or anything like that, but Tom Brady. I think he's going to. Again, eventually, Father Time wins. And like I said, there's a lot of upheaval down in Tampa Bay. They lost a couple linemen, if I'm not mistaken. They have a new coach. There was some. What's that?
Chris Godwin's hurt.
Yeah, I mean, they got some things that aren't boding well for success for Tom. Listen, Tom is Tom, and he could probably will that team back to the playoffs and deep in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but I think you're going to see a drop in his production this year. And if things aren't going well there, like I think he could check out because I don't really think he wants to play in the conditions that he's in right now. I think he wanted to be elsewhere, whether it was Miami or in the booth. So I see him not having a great year and tumbling out of the top 10.
Can I just do another one?
Go for it.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I just thought of something. So a guy on the list that I said Derek Carr because I was just thinking of Devontae Adams, but the guy that I think has the most potential to kind of jump back up the list because he used to be up in the top tier would be Russell Wilson for 3 reasons. A, he went to a team that actually has an offensive line for the first time in his career. He's going to a team that runs the ball first. They have a great running attack with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. and they have some of the best young wide receivers not talked about in the top tier guys, but they have Jerry Jeudy, who's still, I know he's been injured, but he's still a guy that has a lot of potential. And they have Courtland Sutton, who we talk about all the time about guys that are underrated, that aren't talked about. Courtland Sutton's one of those guys. He's just a 1,000-yard guy with no quarterback. And they have a good tight end. So I think Russell Wilson's going to a situation where he's going to be refreshed. Like, they asked Russell Wilson what was his criteria when he went to a new team, before he got traded. And his 3 things were a team that has a good history of winning, which obviously Denver does, the John Elway, era and all that stuff in the 80s. A team that has a good offensive line was his number 2, which I think Denver is always in the top 5 teams in the NFL as far as offensive line, and a team that's hungry to win. I think Denver fits that because obviously they won with Peyton Manning, but they're a team that lately has not been where they need to be. So I think all those three things checked his box, and I just think he's ripe to have a new, refreshed vision.
We're back to the big screen here with us here.
Jason, I agree with you. I don't think he should be ranked as high as he is on Phil's list. So I do think he has a chance to prove people that last year was an anomaly, and he could jump back into that top 10.
I mean, I think it's going to be just as much as we're going to learn about Russell Wilson. We're going to learn a lot about Jeudy, and you didn't even mention Timothy Patrick and Courtland Sutton. We're going to learn a lot about those guys because they all had a lot of hype, and the lack of a quarterback there in Denver kind of slowed their development to an extent. So we're going to learn a lot about it. A lot. I'm not buying the Denver hype train this year. They're going to be better-ish, kind of, but that division, in my opinion, is probably the toughest division in football at this moment. That division has the best 4 quarterbacks as a whole of any division in football. That division, I mean, you just think about it. You got the Chiefs, perennial Super Bowl contenders. You got the Chargers with Justin Herbert. Some people think top 3 quarterback in the league. You've got the Raiders, Derek Carr, adding Devontae Adams, playoff team last year. That's going to be every AFC West battle is going to probably be must-see TV this year.
So can I ask you a question?
You can ask me 1.5 questions.
Out of those 4 teams, which one has the best defense?
It's a tough call. I guess Denver, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really looked at what kind of adjustments Kansas City has made to theirs yet. I'm going to be doing the next list. I'm going to be doing some fantasy football lists. We won't break down every one of them on this show, but my next power rankings, I'm going to do just an overall team power rankings list. And this thing here should have taken me 5 minutes to do, but it took me 35, 40 minutes, and it's still got a lot of mistakes in it. So doing the power rankings for teams, it's going to take me a long time to put that together. But I'm not very technically sound. I should just go to somebody and be like, "Yo, here's my power rankings. Can you make me a slideshow?" Because that slideshow, it was like trying to get a kid to write cursive for the first time. It was difficult for me to
I think
make.
you did a great job, Phil. And I
I
got to be honest. I like your list. Like I said, there's always going to be difference.
And that's what I like about this. I think it was a good conversation. It was a good little short video. I'm not sure why my audio was so bad on that, but then it also brings up conversations for other shows. Yeah.
The audio is better. I went back and listened to it this morning, and it wasn't as bad. It sounded better.
Maybe it fixed itself. I don't know. All right. So real quick, that took up a little bit longer than I thought, but it was good. That was a good show, right? Or good conversation there. So real quick, let's 10 minutes here to wrap up the show. Phillies start a 6-game road trip, 2 against Texas and 4 against the Padres. Padres are obviously very good team, second in their division. Marc, Jason, last week when we started that 5-game series with the Nationals, I'm like, all right, what do we need to do? What do we need as a record, to consider it a success? And I'm like, I need a 4-1 record. And then I go out yesterday and say the 4-1 record wasn't good enough because we punted on the last game. We're 2 games against Texas. Texas isn't great, but Martin Perez going tonight for them, dominated us when he pitched against us earlier this year. And, so tonight's not a cakewalk. And then you go to San Diego for 4. Big picture we'll start with 6 games on the road. What do you want to see Monday Monday morning when we come on this show and they're on another day off and they're traveling home for their 9-game homestand? I got to hope for 3-3, but I think 3-3 is going to be a really, really tough pull to ask from this team this weekend or this week. Jason?
I mean, I got to be honest with you. I just want them to keep winning series. So if they can just win each series methodically like they have been, and they continue that the rest of this year, I think it's going to be hard pressed to not make the playoffs as that final wild card, because I think you look at the NL East, it's a very tough division right now. You're up against the Mets, who had a huge lead in the division. But you also have Atlanta, who everyone keeps – it's almost like Atlanta's like the Tom Brady of baseball. Like, nobody's like, everyone always counts them out, and every single year Atlanta is just in that conversation. And that's because they draft well, and they develop their young players. If you look at their pitching staff, they don't have one guy that's like, fringe. I don't want to say. They have 5 guys that are just basically belong in the major leagues, like, because they have consistent guys to backfill when there's guys that, are on the injured list or whatever. That's one thing the Phillies don't have, and we've talked about that on the show how often, is that we're in a tough position because now you have Zach Eflin, who I haven't seen any reports, but, I have a weird feeling he's going to go in the IL. And my question is, who is taking his place? We don't have that guy in AAA that's like, wow, bring him up. And that's what's frustrating, because it's like, it's times like this, you're going to go through a season, and you're not going to go through it 100% healthy, especially on the pitching end, because let's face it, today pitchers just break down more, even though they don't want to throw them more innings. Like, everything that the league's doing is like contrary to that, but, pitchers still break down. I am a little concerned about Zach Eflin because, like I said, I know, as Phil says, he is what he is, but he's still a legitimate starter that does eat up innings. Who is taking his place? My question to you guys.
Well, as of now, he's still scheduled to start. Mark,
I'm available to pitch if needed. To Jason's point, there's nobody there. There's like
miles an hour, Mark.
I could probably get it up to about 50, 55 if I had to. So, yeah, maybe. But no, here's the deal with the upcoming series, though. Like, didn't Texas come in last month, and we kind of projected they're going to win the 2 games, and they got swept by the Rangers. I think paybacks are a bitch, and we're going to probably win those 2 games. Here's the concern is and not so much the pitching, it's Bryce Harper. Bryce is hurt. He's got this infection on his hand. He said he's had blisters, but never an infection of a blister to the extent that it is. And I don't know if he's playing tonight. Is he playing tonight? I don't think he's in the lineup.
They haven't said yet.
If he's going to be out for an extended period of time, I can see them going 2-4. If he plays half the games, I could see him going 3-3. If he plays all the games, I see them winning both series. Go upwards of 5-1. I think they can do that. But because they're on a hot streak, and to Jason's point, like it's not about all the wins in a row; it's about winning series. If you're constantly going 2 games and 1 all through the next month, like you're all of a sudden now in the hunt for the division. So you got to learn how to walk before you run. So we're in our walking stage right now, but we can run at any moment.
See, so to wrap that up, so like I said, I get what you're saying, Mark, with them payback's a bitch. They might win these two since they beat us twice. But I'm gonna, especially if Bryce Harper doesn't play. We talked about this yesterday, Mark, me and you. When Bryce Harper's not in the lineup, it's not just you're losing your best hitter. It's like the energy of the team isn't there. It's like he's also that energy and spark plug. Even though he's still sitting in the dugout, it's just not the same when his name is not on that box score.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something missing from this team. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, well, I'm going to ask you another question. To your point.
I said you only got 1.5 questions, so you already asked me one. So you can only say half the question.
No, to your point, to exactly what you're saying, I guess my question is, and I love the guy, and when we signed him, I was through the roof happy and excited. And he's a guy that is typically a high energy guy. But I guess my question is, when is Nick Castellanos going to start playing like the Nick Castellanos that I know, the one that I watched so many years, run through catchers and knock people over. The one that came here and proclaimed that, baseball's his life. He didn't go to college to hit balls. Like, when are we going to see that guy? Like, because I got to be honest.
It's a very simple answer. It's when John Middleton buys him a new home and he moves into a different house. I mean, until he moves out of Ben Simmons' house, he's just going to continue to be Ben Simmons. That's sorry. I get it. Nick Castellanos is disappointing. He's struggling. He has said, and he's been very vocal that he has struggled and that he just hasn't gotten into a rhythm yet. Look, sometimes that happens. When free agents sign big contracts, at first they start to struggle. The weight of the world is on them. I would have thought the starting to win would have helped him get out of his funk, because when you're winning, there's less pressure on you. But I don't know. It's going to take maybe getting away from the fans, being on the road. Maybe this road trip is it. But again, guys, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to be brutally honest. I think 3-3 is a win for this team this week. If we finish 3-3, because 1-1 against Texas, you can't really ask for more than 2-2 against San Diego. San Diego's a really good team, but this week is a very good measuring stick for where this team is.
We may. I will say we may luck out if Machado goes on the IL, which I'm not. Yeah. I would never wish injury on anybody, but I know he did get hurt, and it's an ankle. Mm-hmm. But they're saying that they're highly what's the word? They don't believe he's going to go on the IL, but maybe that will linger. And
we might catch a break with him not in the lineup if he's not going to be in the lineup, and
because he's been a world beater this year. I will say he's a guy, like, I know a lot of people are like, Bryce Harper MVP, but you also got to look at like where teams are, and I think Bryce Harper overall, we made the right decision. Mm-hmm. But Manny Machado, obviously last year, I think had an off year, and he's playing more to his capabilities. As far as like third baseman in the league, he's probably my favorite, at least. I don't know if he's the best, but
right. I don't like Manny Machado. When he was running down the line when he was with the Dodgers blowing bubbles in was it a World Series game or whatever, a playoff game or whatever. Totally turned me off on that guy, and I'm glad we didn't sign him.
Oh, trust me, I'm not discounting that.
All right, guys, I got one final thing to do here with this show today. A little fun to close the show. We've had a lot of fun today. We've had a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen this video. I want to know if you guys.
Oh, dude, I just saw this. Go ahead, play it.
Jason, have you seen this video?
No.
All right.
Dude, when do you see this?
Guy's using a cast iron skillet and knocking this alligator straight out of his. I mean, concussions are real for alligators too. That thing. Look at that. Look at that. Smack, smack. All right. I just want to say this. If I was that guy and I even thought about doing it, the alligator would have taken the pot out of my hand and smacked me with the pan. There's no way I am doing that. I am running as fast as I can in the opposite direction.
Holy crap, dude.
He makes that alligator his biatch, basically, right there. Mark, are you doing that? What are you doing in that situation?
I'm probably messing my pants first and foremost. Holy shit, dude! Like that, I don't get how people live in areas that have stuff like this. A few years ago, I was in Florida. We were staying in a condo, and I was my daughter and my wife were walking near, like, there was like an area of water there. I don't know, it was a lake or whatever the hell it was. And I'm on the balcony and I'm looking up, and they're like walking along the water. In the water, you could see from the top, you could see the alligator swimming, and I'm screaming, "Get back to the condo! Get back to the." It's scary shit, dude. Like, I don't want to deal with stuff like that.
They're fast. They're strong. I mean, it happened in I believe it was in Disney World a few years ago.
Where was this at?
I forget where it was from. This video.
Gotta be Florida.
No, it was in another country in all this video. Maybe it was fun. But anyway, there was a sad story in Florida a few years ago at Disney World. Like, one of the lakes at Disney World, an alligator came out and snatched a kid out from the beach area and stuff like that. Dude, alligators are scary. I want to move to Florida. I do. But man, I'm gonna have to do some major soul searching for them.
They have bugs that are like this size. That, like, there's everything in Florida is from a wildlife perspective. I don't want to have anything to do with. And talk about wildlife. This time last year, we had a loose bear in our town, and it walked through our development one early Sunday morning. And I had the cops here, I had SWAT here, and I don't know what the hell they were going to do. But the bear ended up going elsewhere, thank God. But he was walking like through the yards over here, right behind me, and I didn't sign up for this shit. I grew up in Philly. We had squirrels on the wires, and that was about the amount of wildlife that we had, like bears and alligators. Get the hell out of here! I mean, you guys are all nuts.
Dude, I got worried about coyotes and wolves and everything else where I live. So, go ahead, Jason.
No, do you live in Mullica Hill, Mark?
I used to live in Mullica Hill. I live in Mantua Township, which is.
I was going to say, because that's where that tornado was.
Oh yeah.
I have a buddy that actually was in one of the houses that got leveled.
No shit.
He was out of work for a year, like stress. Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up. Like, there's a road called Breakneck Road that connects Mantua Township to Mullica Hill, essentially, and it's a tree-lined road before the tornado. Now, that tornado went down that road and wiped out virtually every tree. It looks like a completely different road. Trent Cole lives on Breakneck Road. His house is still under construction. His neighbor has this gaping hole on the side of his house. They're still under construction. There are trees that are down that are still wedged into the woods there that they got to pull out. The tornado came through my town, skipped my development, but hit my friend's development one over, wiped out roofs, fences, swing sets, pools. Oh, it was really scary, dude. And I don't have a basement here, so like, had it hit my house, we would have had a problem. I didn't sign up for this stuff. I'm a city boy, and having this shit happen all the time freaks me out.
Tornadoes are probably my number one fear of Mother Nature, because they just come so quickly. They're so powerful, and boom, they're gone so quickly. I mean, I've been on a ship in the middle of literally sailing right into the eye of a hurricane. I've seen those kind of things before, but a tornado, man, scary shit. I don't know. That might be more scary than that alligator coming at you. I don't know. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up there for the day. Trending in the AM. Make sure you like this video and hit subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate that. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, those sites, make sure you're liking the video, sharing it out, retweeting, and hitting follow button on the DSM accounts, but also all of our accounts. Phil Stiefel is my name, at Bearded Knowledge on Twitter. Jason Vorhees, at Mustang3651, and Marc Moscatelli, at Marc with a C _. We're back tomorrow. I'm rolling solo tomorrow. We got Jason on Thursday. We got Scotty on Thursday for a little NBA draft preview. I don't know about you guys. I didn't even realize the NBA draft was this week till literally 2 days ago. Completely forgot about it. So I really have no idea what's going on with the draft. I do know there's a lot of Sixers rumors. We'll dive into them a little bit tomorrow. Everybody have a good day. We might be without Marc for a few weeks. He's got some work things that are changing in his schedule. We'll have to find a way to pre-record some shows to get Marc back on the air here again. Or everybody that's watching has to go blast Marc's, timeline. I've been trying to convince him to take over my old show, Trending for Four Quarters, on a Wednesday or Thursday night. Maybe I'll convince Mark to start his own show because the morning show for the next few weeks or months won't be the same without Mark on it. So we will find a way to get Mark back on the air. Don't you worry. Everybody have a great day. Go Phillies. Ring the bell. And yeah, definitely. Everybody have a great day.